Grand Prix scene moves to Europe, to Belgium. Not to the Spa circuit where the Belgian Grand Prix was held last year, but to Zolder, the scene of so many past Belgian Grand Prix. Now Zolder is very tough, it's very demanding. It's fairly flat, but it's twisty, it's hard on brakes, and it's going to be very difficult for the cars to go the race distance on a tank of fuel. And sadly, the man who won here in 1982, John Watson, is here just as a spectator.
And off goes Rosberg, and Watson is through. Change of lead. Rosberg goes out, hits the curbing at the side, and now John Watson is within sight of that checkered flag. He's going down the finishing straight, and the Belgian Grand Prix has been won by John Watson.
It's some time since the bombshell dropped. Has the pain gone?
Well, there wasn't really so much pain. It was there was obviously a disappointment, because it was like a marriage, really. I mean, I was together with Marlboro McLaren for 5 years, and when you divorce, mentally you're still married, but in physical terms you're not. So I still find myself referring to the team and to aspects of that, so it is a little bit strange. But being here today was an interesting experience, not driving, but sitting in the pit wall and watching everybody else drive.
You must find it ironic that your replacement in the Marlboro McLaren team, Alain Prost, is now leading the World Championship.
It is ironic in one respect, because I believe that if there hadn't been a driver change, then it could have been me leading the championship.
Are you surprised that all the main teams except McLaren have not done well this season?
Yes, because all those teams that haven't done well are the teams that did the most testing. And it's an irony that Marlboro McLaren, who were late with their car, went to Brazil really with very little experience of it, and were right on the pace. They have a car that is easier on tyres than the opposition. They have an engine that is more economical than the opposition, yet they've done the least amount of running.
We'll be hearing more from John Watson during the season. But now here's a check on the World Championship table, which shows that John's replacement at McLaren, Alain Prost, is leading his teammate Niki Lauda, with Keke Rosberg third and Elio De Angelis and Derek Warwick tying for fourth, ahead of Eddie Cheever and Riccardo Patrese. And in the Constructors' Championship, McLaren have a massive 18-point lead over Williams and Alfa Romeo. In practice, Ferrari, who've yet to score, really came good, with Michele Alboreto in pole position and his teammate René Arnoux second. Rosberg third, Warwick fourth, De Angelis fifth, and Manfred Winkelhock sixth. But the championship leaders are well down. Prost 8th and Lauda 14th. And so are the Brabhams, with Piquet and Fabi 9th and 18th. The three other British drivers are all in. Nigel Mansell 10th, Martin Brundle an excellent 22nd, and Jonathan Palmer last to qualify at 26th. Derek Ongaro ready to press the light switch, which will take them from red to green and go. Keke Rosberg is left very badly on the line as the rest of them get away. Rosberg, third on the grid, was miraculously missed by everybody else and has got away, but is 26th and last as the leaders stream away round the Bianchi bend and up towards the chicane on lap 1. And it's Ferrari, Renault, Ferrari. Alboreto is leading. In third place is René Arnoux, and Derek Warwick is in second place in the Renault. Fourth is Winkelhock, through the chicane, on towards Terlamen, and it's Alboreto, Warwick, Arnoux, first, second and third. Ferrari, Renault, Ferrari. And Michele Alboreto is doing here in Belgium what he did at Brazil. He's leading strongly from the start of the race, but don't forget that in Brazil he broke down. Derek Warwick in a strong position to challenge, keeping ahead of René Arnoux as they're coming down towards the end of the first lap, and this is the end of the first lap, and it's Alboreto leading, Warwick second, René Arnoux third, Winkelhock fourth, De Angelis fifth, Riccardo Patrese sixth, and already Alain Prost, there he is, the third of the cars that you're looking at now. The red and white car is up into seventh position. Alain Prost and he started 8th on the grid, so he's already made up a place. Cecotto has gone into the pits with a brake problem, and the order now on lap 5 out of 70. As you can see, Michele Alboreto leading, Warwick 2nd, Arnoux is in 3rd position, Winkelhock is 4th, De Angelis is 5th, Alain Prost is in 6th position, Nigel Mansell is now in 15th position, and Martin Brundle is 18th, with Jonathan Palmer still bringing up the rear, and Derek Warwick, with those longer lasting, he hopes, tyres on his car, is keeping station. And it's Goodyear tyres leading, Michelin 2nd, Goodyear 3rd, and Pirelli in 4th position. So there's a very even spread of the important tyre manufacturers as the leader goes through to complete his 5th lap. Alboreto, and it looks to me as though Winkelhock is gaining on Arnoux, and Warwick in 2nd position is pulling away from the Frenchman in the Ferrari a bit. You can see for yourself.
Yes, this looks like a bit of a breakthrough for Pirellis, because they have made good qualifying cars in the past, but they've never really made a very, or certainly not a race car that has been actually successful. And Winkelhock has now closed that gap, the ground that he's not. He also, that's somebody slowing down in a bit of trouble. Could it be one of the McLarens? I think it is. I can't see it, and they say it's Prost on the caption. So Alain Prost looks to be in mechanical trouble and slowing down, which will be a great disappointment to the McLaren team. Niki Lauda is way back in something like 11th place at the moment, but of course he started 14th on the grid. But whilst he's fighting to get through backmarkers, that's what he's doing. These chaps have got a clear road that we're looking at now, and they're going away. And I must say it's interesting, and I think that's just Prost parking, so that's not really, we've seen him, we know he's in trouble. But Winkelhock's performance is particularly gratifying to Pirellis, because he's not the kindest of drivers to tyres. He throws his car about a lot, and that's not the way to look after them. So if they're standing up to Winkelhock, fairly, what I suppose what is called muscular driving technique, then, whoops, and now they're smothering in foam. It probably wasn't on fire at all, but maybe his turbo just caught.
Alain Prost, of course, is leading the championship, and the pendulum is swinging, as it very often does in Grand Prix racing. McLarens, who seemed so dominant and who are actually leading the Constructors' Championship by an enormous margin, have now already lost one of their cars. As you look at Warwick 2nd, Arnoux 3rd, and Winkelhock closing right up with the Frenchman. There in 5th place is Elio De Angelis, and right behind De Angelis now is Nelson Piquet. So Piquet is absolutely streaking through the field, because he is up from 9th position to 6th. That's Thierry Boutsen in the pits, the Belgian, in his first race in the Arrows BMW, and it looks as though it may well be over already. They had balancing problems getting the car to run cleanly during practice, but there's a terrific scrap going on behind the 5th and 6th men, where there they are, De Angelis and Piquet, because Eddie Cheever, who has done extremely well for Alfa Romeo this year, is going to be coming into your picture as Piquet goes through and takes Elio De Angelis and 5th position. So Nelson Piquet, the reigning world champion, on lap 9 out of 70, goes up to 5th position. He's already pulling away from Elio De Angelis. Behind Elio De Angelis, who is now 6th. In 7th place is Eddie Cheever, going well. Nigel Mansell is coming into the pits, and there he is. Nigel Mansell, who was in, at the time, 20th position, so he's dropped down through the field. It's obviously not tyres, no jacks, no pneumatic hammers, the wheels aren't coming off, but Mansell is coming out, and he is finished in the Belgian Grand Prix. And there are the 6th, 7th and 8th men. De Angelis in the JPS Lotus, Cheever just to the right of your picture, and Keke Rosberg that you're looking at. De Angelis 6th, Cheever 7th, Rosberg 8th. And Rosberg is really harrying Eddie Cheever now for 7th position. He's come up on this very demanding circuit from the last place on the grid to 8th position.
he's got one particularly good place each lap, and that's the chicane immediately before the pits, which they're coming to. They've got this hairpin now, little kink, and then the corner where his car seems to have, but look at his right front tyre. His right front tyre would appear to certainly to be very scuffed, if not blistered. So what we may see is the end at some stage of Rosberg's run. But of course, remember, he'll have another set in the pits waiting for him, and this time he didn't get the speed through there. He appeared to lose ground, and that was his specialist spot. Let's watch him for another lap. But I think that Rosberg might just be running into front tire troubles, which would be a crime. Now, that is where the right front gets a big lean, and he certainly wasn't quick through that one.
And the gap is increasing between Warwick and Rosberg. Warwick, who is second, and Keke Rosberg, who is eighth. It's now 23 seconds, but it's because De Angelis and Chiva are holding the fin up. The position now on lap 22, as Rosberg again challenges, and this time goes through. Keke Rosberg takes Chiva, who fights back, but Rosberg slams the door in his face, and he's gone up to 7th position. And now, on lap 22, it is still Alboreto leading, Warwick second, Arnoux third, Winkelhock fourth, Piquet fifth, De Angelis sixth, Rosberg seventh, Chiva eighth.
And here we see it again. Now Rosberg came through on the outside for the next corner, and they had really quite a scrap. I think Chiva was retaliating in a situation where he really was beaten. Seemed a bit unnecessary, but still it was made jolly good entertainment, and both drivers emerged unscathed. Rosberg was well clear. He got it right out of the previous corner, there without accelerating him. So now, can Rosberg look after his tyres enough to keep this stunning performance going? But I think he's struggling a bit now. He doesn't seem to have quite the same superiority in grip and handling that he had 10 laps ago, or even 5 laps ago.
And then Piquet has moved up to 4th position, ahead of Winkelhock and just behind René Arnoux. So Nelson Piquet, who had a pretty dreadful practice because he qualified in 9th position, which is very low for him, has now moved up ahead of Manfred Winkelhock into 4th place. And Piquet's definitely gaining. Look at this! Superb! Nelson Piquet on lap 25 takes René Arnoux and 3rd position, and the Frenchman is dropping back, and now they're all closing up, because with Piquet to 3rd position, with Arnoux 4th, Winkelhock 5th.
Yeah, so that was just a marvellous piece of opportunist overtaking from Nelson Piquet. Very brave too. Piquet, for all his great skills and everything, and the very few mistakes he makes, got plenty of bravery as well. He's really charging.
Patrick Tambay in the pits, the first of the lead drivers, or the drivers who are within the first dozen, to change his tyres. And Keke Rosberg now is right up with Manfred Winkelhock, who is in 5th position, as into the pit comes René Arnoux in 3rd position. And they were changing tyres in practice this morning in 7 seconds, and it looks as though they're not going to do it this time. Arnoux, who was in 4th position, having just been taken by Nelson Piquet, is having a very slow pit stop. It should only take about 8 seconds at the most from stationary to moving again, and that was a 19-second pit stop. It will have lost René Arnoux quite a few places. He rejoins on lap 26, the order being Michele Alboreto leading. Warwick is in 2nd place. Up to 3rd position now was Nelson Piquet. So now to 4th is Winkelhock, chased by Rosberg, Chiva, De Angelis and Niki Lauda, with out of the race Riccardo Patrese, Prost, Boutsen, Mansell and Lafitte. Eddie Chiva out of the race in his Alfa Romeo, and the American was in 5th position. Oh, very unhappy Eddie Chiva. He had a dreadful season with Renault last year. He had an enormous number of retirements. He moved to Alfa Romeo in the hope that things would improve. And as you notice from his gestures, he is obviously a very frustrated man, and justifiably so, as the marshals. And by the way, there are 46 British marshals here today from the British Racing and Sports Car Club, from Brands Hatch. And they are a welcome addition to the Belgian marshals, And Eddie Cheever, unconcerned about that. That chap in the background doesn't seem to be very concerned about anything as Cheever walks past him. The battle between Piquet and Rosberg for third position. And whilst we watch this, think on this, the incredible Tyrrells of Stefan Belloff and Martin Brundle. The unsponsored Tyrrells are now up to 8th and 10th positions, although Martin Brundle seems to be slowing a bit. Lap 33, just about half distance.
And I think, was that Piquet making a mistake? It was indeed. Piquet went wide at the hairpin, slid off, lost traction, and he's let Rosberg through. And that's a terrible mistake by Piquet, because I don't think he's going to catch Keke now. He's been hounding him for several laps. That was probably caused by the pressure. I say it was a terrible mistake. It was a mistake that cost him his place for the time being. I think Keke would have got him later, but probably because he was fighting Keke's superior speed, he just overstepped the mark a tiny bit.
Warwick comes into the pit in second position. This we did not expect. This is lap 34. Derek Warwick stops. Remember that Piquet's his pit stop was about 9.6 seconds. How is the Renault team going to compare? Well, 2 seconds longer. Warwick rushes out of the pit, and he's going to be bearing in mind the fact that he's got to work up to racing speed on cold tyres now. It means to say that Rosberg in third position is going to close on him, with Piquet behind him in fourth position. And
I think I saw Rosberg just slip through. There is Rosberg, yes. And Rosberg slipped through we just saw him go by as Derek was coming out of the pit. But bear in mind, of course, that Rosberg still has to make his stop, and that Derek now is on fresh rubber.
And this is where the race is really going to come alive, and we may well get a lot of changes, because as you can see, drivers are into the pits. That is Winkelhock, who was in fifth position, has come into the pits for a very long pit stop. Lap 36, just over half distance, and number 27 in the red Ferrari, Michele Alboreto, who has led from the time the lights went to green, is still in the lead. And off, incredible, off goes Alboreto. Now that could mean that his tyres are greening and are going off, and that Alboreto will have to come into the pits in the lead.
I want another look at the back of his car, because as he drove away at least, I thought I saw something possibly hanging on the rear suspension. Now look at him, sides wide, he gets onto the slippery stuff. Now he's bumped over the curb there, and that could have damaged his bottom right rear wishbone. Now as the picture clears, now have a look by his right. No, it's an optical illusion. I think it looked solid, or what I thought was something off wasn't. So let's hope he's undamaged it. Now he still has enough of a lead that he could get into the pit and get out again, but even before Rosberg arrives, who we imagine is going to stop himself. And he's got a huge lead on Derek Warwick of over 50 seconds, or approximately 50 seconds, before he went and lost a bit of time there, but it wouldn't be more than a couple of seconds.
As Theo Farby goes through in the Brabham, and Brundle is right with Farby, who is seventh.
Now there comes Alboreto. Finally, and at last, Alboreto has come into the pit. And I was just about to say, I thought probably he wasn't coming. We're on lap 40. Let's have a look-see. We're already getting up towards the 10 seconds and past, but it's not bad. And that's Winkelhock limping down slowly. It looks mechanical, I think his engine or something like that, and he looks like that's the end of his day's work. And Niki Lauda, we hear, stopped with a broken engine.
And into the pit now comes Keke Rosberg for his anticipated pit stop in second place on lap 44. Patrick Head bends over. The car designer speaks briefly to Keke Rosberg. The hammers hammer. The wheels come off. Keke Rosberg sits impassively there. It's a rather longish pit stop compared with some of the others. 15.7 seconds. The Honda turbo engine rumbles as Rosberg drives out, and he should still be in second position. Alboreto leading has made his tyre stop. Rosberg has made his tyre stop. Warwick has made his tyre stop. Jonathan Palmer in the Ram with its Hart turbo engine into the pits for a change of his Pirelli tyres. Palmer just qualified. He had all sorts of problems in the practice period. His teammate Philippe Alliot failed to qualify because he had a broken turbo in the very last stages of practice. And as you can see, there looks like a problem with the left front and the right front. They can't get the nut on, and poor Jonathan must be fuming with frustration there as he sits in the Ram. Away goes the jack, got stuck. Jonathan Palmer, 40 seconds. There is Rosberg. Now you see that Rosberg is just ahead of René Arnoux. Therefore, on the 46th lap, it is Michele Alboreto leading. It is in second position. Now Derek Warwick in third position. It's Piquet. In fourth position, it is De Angelis. In fifth place, it is Beloff. And then in sixth place behind Beloff, it's Rosberg. So he slipped down to that sixth position from second. As a result of his pit stop, Michele Alboreto goes through on the 47th lap out of 70 in the lead.
Question now that everybody will be looking at is to see if Alboreto can go ahead. Now he's got a big advantage here because he's got such a huge lead that he can drive at half throttle for the rest of the race and still win. He's something like very nearly 30 seconds clear of Derek Warwick, so you'd be surprised how much you can ease up on the engine power and still lap only maybe a second a lap slower because you just keep the car going fast around the corners, which is your job as the driver.
De Angelis, Beloff, Rosberg and Arnoux. And what a superb race Stefan Beloff is driving. After all, this is only his third Grand Prix, and in the admittedly very much underpowered in comparison with the turbo cars, Tyrrell Ford. Oh, look at Rosberg, and that Brundle Tyrrell out of the race. He was in 8th position, having driven a superb race before he went in for his tyres, and it may well be, and I'm guessing, that Martin Brundle started going a bit too quick on cold tyres and he's gone off. And now Arnoux is taking De Angelis and 4th position, so Arnoux has gone from 7th to 4th position very, very quickly indeed. And he's now got Piquet, Warwick and his teammate Alboreto in front of him as Keke Rosberg gets ahead of Beloff and ahead of De Angelis. A sweeping left-right by Rosberg takes him up behind René Arnoux.
That was marvellous opportunism by Keke Rosberg. Here we are, we've got it again. They're all coming. He's got the advantage, obviously, over the Ford-powered Tyrrell car, but he nips in between them. De Angelis is looking the wrong way. He sees that, and he nips down the inside. De Angelis was expecting him to come on the right, and that was just terrific stuff.
So now, on lap 56, it is Alboreto in the lead, Warwick second, Piquet in third position, Arnoux in fourth position and pulling away. In fifth position, Rosberg. In sixth position is De Angelis, there he is. And in seventh place is Stefan Beloff. Eighth is Tombe, 1 lap adrift. Ninth is Senna in the Toleman. 10th is Mark Surer in the Arrows. 11th now is Mauro Baldi in the Spirit, and that's the highest he's been since he changed teams this year. And in 12th position now, Jonathan Palmer in the Ram Hart. Palmer is 5 laps down, but never mind, he is in 12th position. And the unfortunate Mauro Baldi joins the retirees of the Belgian Grand Prix. His Spirit Hart is out of the running. And Arnoux is catching Nelson Piquet. Now, I hope we'll be able to see this. because Arnoux really has got a new lease of life. And Arnoux goes right up alongside and forces Nelson Piquet to one side and moves up into third position on this, the 61st lap. Look at it again. Round the fast left-hander, Arnoux moves to the right, gets the inside line for the right-hander that follows. Surprisingly, Nelson Piquet did not attempt to close the door, and Arnoux goes through and Piquet fights back.
And you see Rosberg still very much in the background there. He's very much in touch. He's only 2 or 3 seconds behind that pair. Therefore, if Piquet's in a bit of trouble or having to start to conserve fuel, he's under serious threat from Keke Rosberg. That is fell off into the pits at a very late stage, and it's not tyres.
It's ballast. Now, this is very interesting. The Tyrrell is so light that in order to comply with the 520 kilograms minimum weight requirement, it has to come in at the tail end of the race and take on ballast. And I do not think that he lost a place. He was in 7th position. He's a long, long way. Well, he can't have lost a position because Ayrton Senna is now in 8th position, 2 laps behind Veloff. And on lap 63, the race order is Michele Alboreto leading Derek Warwick by some 40 seconds, with René Arnoux 3rd, with Nelson Piquet in 4th position there, being caught by Keke Rosberg 5th. Behind them is Elio De Angelis 6th. Stefan Veloff, having made his ballast stop, is in 7th place. Those are the 7 competitors on the same lap. Ayrton Senna, a lap adrift, is 8th. Tombay is 9th. Sura is 10th. Jonathan Palmer has moved up to 11th place, and that is about it in terms of cars left still in the running. And as we expected, Zolder has taken its toll of cars.
Now look at that, Rosberg is going to get past him if he can go, but the Brabham is so quick on the straight line. Terrific battle of bravery, and Rosberg's got it.
And he moves up into the 4th position, ahead of Nelson Piquet, behind Arnoux, Warwick and Alboreto on lap 64. Look at it again.
Yes, Rosberg had to fight because the Brabham is so quick, and he was behind him, but he got his car. All he has to do is get alongside from that position, inside line. Piquet has no corner to turn into, so he has to let Rosberg go. And that was terrific stuff. Battle of 2 really great champions, battling it out in very equally matched cars.
Alboreto leading. Warwick is in 2nd place. Arnoux is 3rd and being caught by De Angelis.
Well, is Arnoux in trouble? Because he seems to have fallen right back, and that is Alboreto closing up on him to lap him. So I can only imagine, and he seems to be perfectly healthy now, so I can only imagine that he's had a spin.
Alboreto leads. Warwick 2nd. Rosberg is in 3rd position now, ahead of Nelson Piquet. And a big spin here, one of the Renaults, it's Derek Warwick. It's Tombay, sorry, it's Tombay. Tombay spun there in 9th position, a lap adrift, and coming up to him now is his teammate behind the white car. Derek Warwick is about to lap his teammate Patrick Tombay, who's had a pretty miserable Belgian Grand Prix. Lap 68, Michele Alboreto, and that's the Brabham of Nelson Piquet. So Piquet out of the race once again to score no points. What a dreadful season this is for Nelson Piquet. Fabi, I forgot to tell you, went out some time ago, and Fabi's Brabham is one of those 2 cars that are parked. You can see a car on one side of the circuit and one on the other. One of them is a Ligier and the other is Fabi's Brabham. So out of the race, as we look at the race leader, Michele Alboreto, on his 68th lap, have gone Patrese, Prost, Boutsen, Mansell, Lafitte, Eno, Cheever, Winkelhock, Lauda, Brundle, Fabi, Baldi, and now Nelson Piquet. So Alboreto leads still by a cool 39 seconds from Derek Warwick, with Keke Rosberg in 3rd position and René Arnoux in 4th position. Up to 5th position now that Piquet is out goes De Angelis, and in 7th place is Stefan Bellof. 6th position is Stefan Bellof in the points again. Thanks to Piquet going out and thanks to an absolutely superb drive. Martin Brundle has had to retire from a Grand Prix for the first time. He finished in Brazil, he finished in South Africa, but he was destined not to finish here in Belgium. And there's a problem. It looks to me as though Piquet's, maybe his gearbox is locked up. Piquet looking a bit mystified about it, but giving some cheerful advice. And there goes Michele Alboreto across the line on, as you see, his last lap. This is lap 70 in this shortened by 1 lap Belgian Grand Prix, because the warm-up lap was included with the originally intended 71 laps. And you are looking at a man who has driven an absolutely superb race. He qualified in pole position after practice. He confirmed his promise by being fastest in the warm-up lap. He has brought Ferrari to the forefront again.
Yes, that's Alboreto for the first time really in the top team. Not that that's only his first on film, for whom he won 2 Grand Prix quite brilliantly, but they couldn't provide him with the car that both they wanted to provide him and he wanted. Now, he's for the first time in Ferrari confirming the really exceptional talent he has. He's poised, he makes no mistakes, he's thoroughly un-Italian, if I might put it like that, in the way he drives and his approach, and he's driven an absolutely flawless and immaculate race today. And then we must say that Derek Warwick also has driven absolutely marvellously. He's had a jolly good meeting all weekend, and I think I'm right in saying that this could put him in the 2nd place in the championship if he can just finish out this final lap in one piece, and that's marvellous news for all British fans, particularly those of us who were very confident as Alboreto takes the line that Derek Warwick would make a great account of himself in a proper car.
We look now at Derek Warwick coming home in 2nd position in the Renault, which, subject to our being able to add up all the other points quickly, will take him into 2nd place in the World Championship. And look at this! This is Rosberg! This is Rosberg coasting and retiring on the last lap. My goodness, another sensational development in the closing stages of a Grand Prix. Keke Rosberg not finishing.
Well, Zolder's lived up to its reputation as a car breaker. Very few cars finished, but what an absolutely magnificent drive by Michele Alboreto. His first win for Ferrari. And in 2nd place, our own Derek Warwick moves him up to 2nd place in the World Championship, and the 2nd Ferrari in 3rd position. Now, Keke Rosberg got 4th position because he finished enough of the distance. Elio De Angelis was in 5th place, and Stefan Bellof got his first World Championship point in the unsponsored Tyrrell, an absolutely magnificent achievement. Now, what does that do for the World Championship? It means that Alain Prost is still in the lead, but Derek Warwick moves up into 2nd place, and we've got a tie for 3rd position between Niki Lauda, Keke Rosberg and Michele Alboreto, with Elio De Angelis in 6th position. The Constructors' Championship, McLaren still leads, but Ferrari are in 2nd place, with Renault in 3rd position, Williams 4th, and JPS and Alfa Romeo tying for 5th position.